I'm going to talk to you about how to make some clones today. What I want to do is have a fly that just kind of flies around the screen and then make several of those just kind of randomly fly around. So I'm going to go to events, get my green flag like we always do. And I need to get a sprite pulled up. So I'm going to go to the icon down here, choose a sprite. I'm just going to type in fly. I found a dragonfly earlier that worked pretty good, but you could pick anything you want. So there's my sprite. It's really big, so I'm going to shrink it down a little bit. I'm going to try 30. Uh, no particular reason, just that worked pretty good. All right. And I need to pull that green flag back. I just realized I pulled that up for nothing because there was no sprite there, so it was nothing to start. So we do have to put our code on a sprite, and that's now good to go. All right. So now what I'm going to do is come down to control, and that's where you're going to find your clone commands. They're down at the very bottom after your loops. And it says create clone first. So I'm just going to make it where I create a clone as soon as I hit the green flag. And you can make that happen when you hit a key or click on something, whatever event you want to trigger it, but I'm just going to do it on the green flag. Then you have to tell it what to do when it starts as a clone. So you grab this block when I start as a clone, and then you tell it what you actually want it to do. So I want these things to just kind of fly around the screen. So I'm going to go to motion, and I want it to go to a random position, but I want it to look like it's flying. So I'm actually going to glide to a random position. And 1 second's probably good. So let's just see what happens. And yeah, this seemed okay. What I kind of want is it just kind of flitters around. Once it gets to wherever it's going, it just goes to the next spot and the next spot and so on. So let me try it again, see how it does. All right, so that seems okay. I can, let's add a loop so that as soon as it gets done doing that, it flies again and then again and again and again and so on. I want it to do that really the whole time the program's running. So I'm going to pull up a forever loop, and I'm going to put that glide inside there. So it just constantly just glides around. So let's see if that works. All right. And you can change the time if you wanted it to go faster or slower. It does seem a little slow. So maybe I'll do like 0.5 seconds. All right. So that's a little faster. And notice how it updated in real time. If I put 0.1 second, it just fluttered around like crazy. So that seems pretty good. But what I don't like is how this original stays there. So I want it to go away because it's just sitting still. So I'm going to go to looks and come down to hide. I'm going to stick that right underneath, create a clone of myself. So I want it to be after it creates a clone. It's going to happen so fast you probably can't tell, but that's when I want it to disappear, after it creates a clone. Now I'm going to run this and see if you see what's wrong with this. Um, there we go. Can't see it because it hit it, but it never told to show back up. So I do need to pull up a show block. So when it starts as a clone, I want it to show up. So the original hides because it's just sitting there. It's not doing anything. When it starts as a clone, that's when it starts to move around. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. All right, so I'm pretty happy with this, but I want to have some more of those. So I'm going to add a loop, and I'm going to tell it to repeat some number of times. Now, here's just kind of a new thing. Let me stop that so it's not so distracting. I'm going to pull up a variable. I'm going to create a variable. Variables, we can make them whatever we want. I'm going to show you how to adjust those too. So I'm going to go to variables down here. And sometimes there's some preset ones. I'm just going to make a variable. And I'm going to call it num fly. The convention is variables are lowercase words that are just descriptive. And whenever you have multiple words, you don't usually put spaces, although in Scratch you can. So I'm used to the old school convention of lowercase, but start a new word with capital letters. So it's kind of like how you can tell it's another word without a space. So I'm going to call it numFly. And it's going to be the number of flies there are. And notice how variables are these little oval shapes, and repeat loops have these oval shapes. You can type a number in, or you can put a variable in there, and a variable represents a number, as it's always done in algebra. So nothing really breaking math there. It's just kind of continuing some things you've already learned. So I'm going to stick that in there, num fly, and I'm going to tell it to create a clone of itself that many times. So if I set it to 2, it'll make 2 flies. If I set it to 10, it'll make 10. And I'm going to attach that to my green flag. So when I hit the flag, it's going to go through and create however many flies I tell it to. And then when they start as clones, they'll fly around the screen. I do want that to hide once it makes those. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put the hide up top because I never want to see the original one, even as it's making clones. So I'm just going to put it at the top. I think that's probably a better place to put it. Now, once I create this numFly variable, it showed up over here. Now, all I got to do is check this box to make a variable show up, but they default to showing up as soon as you make them. All right, so what I want to be able to do now is to create a slider to give me a little more control of how many flies show up on the screen. So it's going to repeat however many times it finds here. Right now it's 0, so you won't see anything. All right, I'm going to right click on that and go down to slider. So now I can slide this and create as many as I want. And it actually defaulted to 1 to 10 this time. Normally, what I've found in the past is you have to go to change slider range. And it usually goes 0 to 100. So it may have been because I was messing around with this before I made the video. But anyway, I want this to be from 1 to 10. Actually, I might go up to 15. Let's just see kind of. That's going to be a lot of flies on the screen, but we'll see kind of how it does. You can set as many small and as big as you want for your range. And you hit OK. And wherever you set this when you hit the green flag, that's how many flies you'll see. I'll make it kind of low right now. So we'll do 3 to start. So let's recap. You hit the green flag. The original is going to hide because it just sits there and does nothing. You will repeat whatever number fly is, which is 3. And you're going to create a clone 3 times because it does that loop. So those 3 clones, when they start, they will show up, and forever they will glide around the screen. So let's hit flag and see what happens. All right, and there they are. There's 3 of them. Now, if I change this now, nothing happens because it's already generated 3 flies, and there they are. So if you want to change the number, you want to stop it and then restart. And there we go.